Welcome to the 2023 Oscar preview show as presented by the Yay, Nay or Meh channel. This is a series of videos where I will be analysing the above-the-line categories at the 2023 Oscars. Even though I've been podcasting and reviewing films for over a decade now, I still consider myself an enthusiastic amateur rather than an expert. I didn't go to film school, I don't really have the training in it. This is the reason why I only do the major categories, because I honestly don't think I can give a value judgment as to what the best editing is, what the best production design is. But I do believe I can give value judgments about the best acting, the best directing, the best writing, and the best film. So that is why I only do the major categories. And I analyse the Oscars in a slightly different way than most people, because I spend almost as much time discussing what I think should have been nominated rather than what was nominated, and only limiting myself to that. And as such, these videos and in past years audio podcasts do get rather long. So what I've decided to do is split these reviews up into separate videos, and there will be one video for each category, where I will be discussing what I think will win, what I think should win, whether there were any snubs, and if there were any snubs, whether I personally think they should actually have won the Oscar. And in a couple of places I've gone really left field with what I think should win the Oscar. So this is going to be a long process. I mean, at the time of recording, it's less than a week away from the actual Oscar ceremony. So I need to be efficient and I need to be fast. And as such, I'm going to be reusing a lot of the same videos. This introduction I'm recording now will be on each of these videos. I mean, I need to introduce each of the videos in case you come across them individually. So I may as well just record one introduction and use it in each of the videos. And if you watch more than one of these, you'll be seeing this a lot. And as such, there will be a time code in the comments to tell you when the actual content starts. And when I will be talking about the same film in different categories, I'll also be reusing that video as well. So you will be seeing some repeats, but again, you can check in the time codes. And with such a vast project, you need a starting point. In certain categories, there is a shortlist. In both the documentary feature and the international feature categories, the Academy publishes a 15-film long list. And in the animated feature category, they publish a list of eligible films. And this year, there were 27 eligible animated features. But other than those categories with a specific list, the starting point that I use is the lists that are published on goldderby.com, which is basically the industry standard for this kind of Oscar preview and prediction. So if a performance or a film was listed on the Gold Derby lists of Oscar potential, there was a chance, however remote, that a performance or a film did have a chance at the Oscars. And that is the list I will be using, with a couple of tweaks which will come up during some of these videos. So that is my starting point, and if it wasn't published on goldderby.com, it's not going to be under consideration. And this has already gone on for far too long, so let's get on with this categories analysis.
Best Original Screenplay. Nominee.
The world loves an underdog. And there can't be many more real underdogs that have a real chance of getting a boatload of Oscars than Everything Everywhere All at Once. Made by a couple of guys who, up until this point, have been most famous for that Turn Down for What music video. They had a moderately successful debut feature film in Swiss Army Man, which was okay. And then they came out with this film, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And never has a film title been so accurate. This is a film which encompasses everything. It's a multiverse film, which is so much better than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which came out within a couple of weeks of it. It's got these wild, exuberant, fantastical elements to it, with a fair sense of humour and absurdity and weirdness. It's a weird film and a complicated film in a lot of ways. But at the same time, it has a genuine emotional heart to it. Fundamentally, Everything Everywhere All at Once is about a mother-daughter relationship that needs to fix itself. And that just works so well. There's so much in this film, and I really like it. I mean, I think this is going to win the Oscar for Best Picture, and I think it's going to miss out for Best Original Screenplay. And I think it's going to deserve it. I mean, this is a brilliant film. It's not going to be my personal choice for Best Picture, but it's absolutely going to deserve the Oscars it's going to get. I really loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's another one of those maximalist type of films. And yeah, it's wild, exuberant, absurd, occasionally rather rude. But it's got such heart to it that, yeah, I really am one of those people who fell in love with Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I do hope it does win the Oscar, even though it won't be my personal choice. But Everything Everywhere All at Once is a definite yay.
Best Original Screenplay. Nominee.
I have a question about the Fabelmans. If we didn't know this was an autobiography, and if we didn't know that it was an autobiography of Steven Spielberg, would anybody give a shit? I don't think so. This is a film of nostalgia. It's a film of establishing a great filmmaker. We have this story of this young boy who grows up and gets obsessed with filmmaking, gets obsessed with the process, and while he's at it, accidentally figures out that his mother's having an affair. And is there anything else here? I don't think there is. Apart from anything else, this film doesn't have an ending. Yes, the final camera move is kind of cute and nicely done. But if this wasn't an autobiography, and if it wasn't Steven Spielberg's autobiography, would he be allowed to get away with that ending? Or that non-ending? I don't think he would. I mean, the performances are okay. I mean, I don't think Michelle Williams or Judd Hirsch deserve their Oscar nominations. But really, this is an Oscar-worthy film, and at least in the early running was considered a genuine contender to win the Oscar. Really? We love Steven Spielberg that much that this film is going to get him another Oscar? Really? I say no. I mean, it's perfectly fine. It's serviceable. I mean, Steven Spielberg is possibly one of the greatest living filmmakers out there. He is a master of his craft, and there is some really good filmmaking here. But in service of what? I just don't think The Fabelmans is that interesting or that impressive. It's only because it's Steven Spielberg that it's got this much attention. So, yeah, it's perfectly fine. I don't think it deserves either of its nominations for Best Picture or Best Original Screenplay. So yeah, for me, The Fabelmans is just meh.
Best Original Screenplay. Nominee.
There are certain directors I just don't get. They have enormous international profile. Everybody says, oh, this is the genius, best movie making ever. And I watch the films and I think, no, that's not my thing. And Ruben Östlund is definitely one of those directors. His last 3 films have all won major awards at Cannes, including this one, Triangle of Sadness. And I just don't get it. Maybe it's my personal taste. I mean, Ruben Östlund very often deals with a sense of awkward humour, which is just not my thing. I mean, I've never liked to watch The Office. That kind of cringe humour just doesn't do it for me. So maybe, well, that almost certainly has something to do with it. But even so, I just don't get the praise that Ruben Östlund has. Triangle of Sadness is a film which does have points to make, but it makes them in such a blunt and an obvious way, and in occasionally a grotesque way. I mean, the extended scene where everybody's vomiting. Yeah, really? Yeah, I mean, performances. I mean, yes, Dolly De Leon, the Filipino cleaner, was getting legitimate Oscar buzz for Best Supporting Actress, which I understand. Didn't make my cut. But as a film, as a directing performance, I just don't think this cuts the mustard. It is making relatively vapid, relatively understated points in very flamboyant ways, and I just don't think it works well enough. So, no. In all of the major categories that Triangle of Sadness got nominated in, Best Picture, Best Director for Ruben Östlund, and Best Original Screenplay, again for Ruben Östlund, I just don't think Triangle of Sadness deserves it. And for me, in every category, it is a nay.
Best Original Screenplay. Snubbed.
The non-English language film that everybody's paying attention to and everybody is heaping praise upon is All Quiet on the Western Front, which is going to win Best International Feature. I mean, there's just not a contest. The non-English language film that everybody should be paying attention to is the Belgian film Close. This is a film directed by Lucas de Hont, whose first film, Girl, also got a lot of international attention. But honestly, I wasn't the hugest fan. Well, I really, really liked Girl until the last few scenes. The final idea that Girl leaves you with, I strongly object to. But he was definitely a director to watch. And then he came out with this film Close, which follows the story of 2 teenage boys who are transitioning between junior school and senior school. They have grown up together as close as brothers, they're neighbours on a flower farm. Or I think, well, at least one of them owns a flower farm in the French-speaking part of Belgium. And they not only spend the night at each other's house, it's not uncommon to spend entire weekends at the other's house, even sharing the same bed. But when a half curious and half teasing question comes up from one of the girls in their class, are you together? One of the boys, brilliantly played by Eden Dambry, rejects this idea wholeheartedly and separates himself from his best friend, joins the local ice hockey team, starts hanging out with the boys who play football and discussing endlessly who's better killing Mbappe or Lionel Messi, and completely rejecting his old friend simply because of the suggestion that they might be intimate with each other. And this has consequences, and the end of this film does have its very melancholy moments. And all of this is brilliantly executed by Lucas de Hont. As both director and screenwriter, he manages to fill this film with such subtlety, with such grace, in a year where so much of the discussion, so many of the films have been this maximalist approach. Here we have a quiet, intimate film which is so much about body language, so much about silence, but we see everything going on. And honestly, I think Lucas de Hont deserves Oscar nominations in both the Best Director and the Best Original Screenplay categories. I think this is an exceptional piece of work. And Eden Dambreen, this kid, is so impressive. I mean, he was 15 years old or so when he shot this film. And I was just blown away by how good he was. And if you watch more of these videos, you will be hearing more about Eden Dambreen. But yeah, Lucas de Hont as director, as writer, I think deserves Oscar nominations. I think this should win the International Feature Oscar this year, and I also think it should be nominated for Best Picture. I really do think this is the type of film that needs to be more in the discussion when it comes to a Best Picture win. So yeah, for me, Close deserves a boatload of extra Oscar nominations, and it's definitely a yeah.
Best Original Screenplay will win.
Martin McDonagh creates worlds which are morally complex and morally ambiguous, and also absurdly and blackly funny. And that is exactly what he did in The Banshees of Inisherin. This is a strange film in a lot of ways, but it is weirdly entertaining and weirdly funny. I mean, brilliantly acted all around from all the cast, which is probably going to get some Oscars, but it seems to be a tussle between The Banshees of Inisherin and Everything Everywhere All at Once for the major categories. It looked like The Fabelmans was also going to be in that mix, but I think that's less likely now. And I think the reflection of what might happen at the Oscars is in the precursor awards, the BAFTAs and the Golden Globes. Banshees of Inisherin won Best Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes and won Best British Film at the BAFTAs, so in neither case did it win the big one. But in both cases it did win Best Screenplay. And I think that's going to be reflected in the Oscars. I don't think Banshees of Inisherin will win Best Picture, but I do think it will win Best Original Screenplay. It won't be my personal choice for Best Original Screenplay, but I think it will win. And if it does win, it will be deserving, because I really did like The Banshees of Inisherin. And despite its oddness, I mean, it's fair to say that The Banshees of Inisherin is strange, but it works, and it does have that strange, melancholy, but funny, but weird kind of vibe to it. I mean, the basic premise is just so absurd that you really don't know what to do with this, as the characters don't know what to do with it. So yeah, I think The Banshees of Inisherin will win Best Original Screenplay, even though it won't be my personal choice. And for both Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay, The Banshees of Inisherin is a yay.
Best Original Screenplay should win.
Every now and again, a film comes out that absolutely blindsides you. And Tar, for me, was one of those films. When I first saw it, I thought, okay, Kate Blanchett, great, but a film about a female conductor, really? Well, this is getting so much praise, so much attention. But then I actually saw it, and similarly to Everything Everywhere All at Once, this is one of those films where everything is encompassed in this film. It's a film about power, it's a film about control and toxicity, very much in the post-Me Too movement, very much a film which, if it was about a man, it would be uncomfortable. But we've now reached the point where toxic women are also being portrayed on screen. I mean, last year there was the Spanish film Official Competition, where the character played by Penelope Cruz was troubling. And now we have Lydia Tarp, as played by Kate Blanchett, being that person, being somebody who uses people, being somebody who controls people, being somebody who needs that. Every single moment of her life is rigidly and carefully controlled until it isn't, until the dominoes start falling. And then writer-director Todd Field does some really interesting things. I mean, we see flashes of the collapse. We don't see the actual events happen. We just know that they are happening. I mean, for instance, Lydia Tarr opens the door and there's a boardroom full of people looking sternly at her. We don't see that meeting, but we can definitely work out what went on in that meeting. And all throughout the film, there are similar things that happen. The relationship between Kate Blanchett and her wife, Nina Hoss, is really interesting, and the level of exploitation and control that Lydia Tarr has. I mean, the heavy implication that this, on some level, was a marriage of convenience for Kate Blanchett is really well done. And yeah, I think Nina Hoss is also excellent and deserves an honourable mention for Best Supporting Actress. But yeah, this is a film which encompasses so much and does it in a reasonably minimalist way. I mean, as I said, not seeing everything that happens, but seeing just enough to imply what happens. I mean, Noémie Merlant from the fantastic Portrait of a Lady on Fire, her last scene in this film sums up this film brilliantly, because we know something bad is going to happen in the future, but we never see it. We just see the consequences of it. And the way that Todd Field works it all together, the way that Kate Blanchett performs it, it's brilliant. I mean, like I said, I was blindsided by this film. I did not expect to respond to it as strongly as I did. And yet, I think this is an exceptional piece of work. I think this should win the Oscar for Best Picture. And out of the nominees, I also think it should win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. I was that impressed with it, and I think this is the kind of landmark movie which people are going to be watching and pondering and analysing for years to come, because this is rich, this is dense, this is powerful, and it's brilliant. I think it should win at least 2 Oscars in these videos I'm going to be doing. So yeah, for me, Tar, in both the Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay category, is a yay.
Best Original Screenplay should win Snubbed.
Okay, so I freely acknowledge that I am truly going off the beaten path with this one. This is so left field, so out of the realm of possibility that it's almost absurd. But good luck to you, Leo Grande was listed on the Gold Derby lists, and I couldn't resist. All of the films that I'm personally nominating, Banshees of Inisherin, Close, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Tar, and this film, Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, all of them have very, very good arguments that you could make for why they are the best screenplay of the year in the original category. But I'm a sucker for a film which is just two people talking to each other. It's one of my favourite subgenres, one of my favourite types of films. And that's what this is. I mean, it's basically Emma Thompson and Daryl McCormack having several conversations in the same hotel room over several weeks, months. It's been a while since I've seen it, but this older woman, Emma Thompson, who is a retired teacher, later in her life realising she's never had an orgasm and would kind of like one. So she hires a male escort, Daryl McCormack, and they meet over several meetings in this one hotel room. And I think it really, really works. I mean, Emma Thompson is excellent in this. I gave her an honourable mention as Best Actress. And the conversations that are had between Emma Thompson and Daryl McCormack are really, really well done. Bringing up all different kinds of issues like parenthood, like teaching, like acceptance. I mean, Daryl McCormack is a sex worker and he's not all that bothered about being a sex worker. And the instinct for Emma Thompson to save this sex worker is not appreciated, is not helpful, and is entirely missing the point of what this should be. I mean, these are two very well realised, very well rounded characters who interact in very, very believable ways. There's only one small other speaking role in the film towards the end, but really it's just these two people talking to each other and exploring each other's lives and exploring each other's bodies and having the secrets, the lies, the necessary secrets and lies of this kind of transactional interaction. What do you actually know about this person? And even if they tell you something, is that true? Can that be trusted? Maybe not. And all different kinds of things get brought up about consent and empowerment and all those kinds of things. It's very, very well done. I think the script for Good Luck to You, Leo Grande is exceptional. Written by, of all people, the comedienne Katie Brand. The amount of times I've seen Katie Brand do stand-up, and actually she's a repeated guest on the podcast The Infinite Monkey Cage as well. And there's a long-running thing about the death of strawberries, which I won't go into here. But yeah, Katie Brand is someone I admire and like. The fact that she came up with an exceptional movie script like this really, really surprises me. So yeah, Good Luck to You, Leo Grande is a very, very personal choice, I admit it. This type of film, which is just two people talking to you, it's exactly my jam. But this is my video. This is my choice, what I think should win the Oscar. And I genuinely think that even amongst these very, very worthy competitors which I'm nominating alongside it, what I think should win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay is Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, which is definitely a yeah. In the original screenplay category, the actual nominees are The Banshees of Inisherin, written by Martin McDonagh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, written by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, The Fabelmans, written by Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner, Tar, written by Todd Field, and Triangle of Sadness, written by Ruben Östlund. My personal list of nominees would be The Banshees of Inisherin, written by Martin McDonagh, Close, written by Lucas de Hont and Angelo Tysons. Everything Everywhere All at Once, written by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, written by Katie Brand. And Tar, written by Todd Field. I can see this category going in many different directions, but who I think will win is Martin McDonagh for the Banshees of Inisherin. But my personal choice, and I think he also has a very good chance of actually winning this category, is Todd Field for Tar. But in the absurd world in which this would actually have got nominated in the real life Oscars, my choice for what should win the Best Original Screenplay category is Katie Brand for Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. And as I leave you with some honourable mentions in this category, which I think are worthy of note, a reminder that I have several more videos in this playlist which analyse different categories at the 2023 Oscars. You can check those out if you desire, even though if you watch enough of them you will have to skip some pieces of footage that I reused, including this closing statement. I am planning to do a reaction video to the Oscars themselves. I haven't quite figured out the technicals of that, but we'll have to see how that goes. And if you appreciate the kinds of things that I'm doing, I have an audio podcast, and I have various other things on this channel that you might want to check out. So you can like, comment, subscribe if you wish. And basically, that's all I have for this particular video. So I'll see you next time, where I shine a light on cinema, both obvious and obscure.